Hello everybody, good evening and welcome to the United Stand. I was on a Zoom call. If you know, you know. That's why I'm late. But hope you're all doing very well. Lots to get into on the show tonight. From Joao Felix to Choupo-Moting, from David De Gea to Scott McTominay leaving. Loads to get into on the show tonight. It almost feels like the 8 o'clock show, which is the best show, is like a morning show because it's got so much to update on. So fasten your seatbelts and get ready because we're going to be talking about Ten Hag's Joao Felix transfer boost. And you know what? We shouldn't just be moaning about the lack of funds all the time because there's actually a way out. And I don't know what Matan's talking about. He's talking out his arse. De Gea is leaving. What are you talking about? He's staying. He's definitely staying. Excuse me. Bit gassy there. Anyway, before we get into all of that, that's not here by accident. Manscaped. Get your camera phone on. Put it on the QR code. Takes you to the website. You get 20% off and free worldwide shipping. Trim the grass to make the yard look bigger. But some people won't even understand what that means. This is the Lawnmower 4.0. It's got a 7,000 RPM engine. It's got electromagnetic induction charging. So basically you just put it in your charge point and take it out. There's no wires. It's got a light on it. That's not to see in the dark. That's to see down there. And it's also waterproof. Now, my tip is basically what this is for. It's precision engineering for your family jewels. It's to, you know, lighten the load down there. To be crude, it's a men's grooming shaver. You know, get rid of the hair down there. That's my new one for 2023. Get rid of the hair down there. I do prefer trim the grass to make the yard look bigger. Fantastic products. I would advise you not to do it in the shower. Do it before you have a shower. Let the hair collect on the bottom and then rinse it away. And then, you know, you'll just see fantastic results. And then put the light on if you want to. They've also got the Weed Whacker, which is for your nose. I mean, they've really thought of everything. They've got the performance package as well. We can get everything together. Boxer shorts, travel bag, deodorants, the lot. 20% off, free worldwide shipping. You won't regret it. They're fantastic products, Manscaped. And if you're a man, I advise you to get them. Thanks very much to Manscaped. Cheers for that one. Trim the grass to make the yard look bigger. Right, let's get into the show. Big shout out to Manscaped there, but lots to get into tonight. And I think we're going to get a lot of interaction. Can I just say welcome to the members club, Nathan, Wood and Neil. I saw Neil joined the members club before the stream had even started. So big shout out to Neil for that. But look, let's fly straight into it. What is this all about? Ten Hag's Joao Felix transfer boost. Well, I'm going to start off with a bit of a story. There was a gingerbread man and he was trying to cross a river. And the fox said, jump on my back and I'll get you to the other side. The gingerbread was a twat and deserved to get eaten. As if you're going to get on the back of a greedy bastard who's licking their lips. As they say, I'll give you a, basically just a bad idea. That's not the story I'm going to tell you. The story I'm going to tell you is about, it's going to be a good show tonight, is about Joao Felix. Did you see apparently Mendes and Ronnie split? I'm going to talk about that a bit later, Daniel Clerk. Interesting story, but not Manchester United related specifically as much as this is. So I'm going to talk to you about a story that's come out from Spain. It's coming from @Relevo, who I haven't really heard much about, but is a Spanish journalist outlet apparently. Now that what their update is the situation threatens to become increasingly tense between Joao Felix and Atletico Madrid because Joao Felix is determined to break out in this market. In fact, he's not returned to training after the match against Elche, alleging muscular discomfort, but actually doesn't want to risk any further injury. So And also, in the same update, Manchester United's line is good in the last days and they want to give Ten Hag more weapons to fight for everything in the final stretch of the season. Atletico Madrid have told Manchester United they want 12 or 13 million for the loan of Joao Felix, but Manchester United want to pay about 4 million. Manchester United wants to incorporate Joao Felix within this transfer market. They're willing to offer €4 million plus full salary for the loan of Portuguese until June. It would be a simple loan without a purchase option. So that is where we are at with it at the moment. 4 million is what Man United want to pay. 12 to 13 million is what Atletico Madrid want to play. Now remember, Arsenal are possibly going to lose out on Mudryk, which wouldn't be good news for us. Chelsea want Mudryk from Shakhtar Donetsk. If they don't get him, that brings Arsenal back into the Joao Felix deal. So I agree with Imran on this. I think Man United's offer is a joke. You pay the wages and €4 million is shite. I'm sorry. I would love to defend Manchester United on this, but it's not Ten Hag I'm defending. It's the shite negotiators, and they are shite. That is a shit offer. That is a rubbish offer. I'm sorry. €4 million is about £2.5 million. So Manchester, Atletico Madrid want to sell Joao Felix for €100 million. They can't sell him in January because nobody will pay that. So they have to loan him. Man United have rocked up and said, we'll cover his wages and give you £2.5 million. Forget about it. What are you talking about? Forget about it. I mean, that's Italian-American. I can't really do Argentinian Simeone or whoever the director of football is for Atletico Madrid. But forget about it is what I would say. Now, look, Atletico Madrid want 13 million. That's about €10 million. Personally, I think give them €8 million. €8 million is about £6 million. Meet them halfway. It's a very, very obvious deal to do, in my opinion. And as I say, Joao Felix is the perfect deal for Manchester United to do. Happy New Year to you and your family, Mark. All the best for 2023. But what I wanted to talk about here is that I am not part of the Bleeding Hearts Club because Manchester United haven't got any money, because I think that's bullshit anyway. But people talk about FFP, financial fair play. People talk about United are broke, right? Two stories today. We cannot sit here as a football club and go, we haven't got any money to get Joao Felix. I mean, you're not going to get any bloody sympathy anyway. The Glazers and Man United saying we haven't got any money left is, it's like, the millionaire down the road with 5 Ferraris on his drive saying, this fuel crisis is really hitting me hard. I can only fill four of my Ferraris up a month now. One of them I've got to put in the garage and not use it. Oh, shit. I feel really bad for you. But there is actually a couple of stories that expose United wide open. And the problem with Manchester United is that they have shit people in charge of transfers who just don't know how to negotiate the way out of a brown paper bag or a white paper bag or a pink paper bag or whatever paper bag. It's easy to get out of a paper bag. You just punch your way through it or piss yourself. It gets weaker and then just tear it apart. Mark, just an idea. I think it's high time United have an intro music. Channel is too big and fantastic not to have one. Interesting. I think Danny from the script should let us use Standing in the Hall of Fame. That's what I think. With the new owner, I would love to have Rice and Osman for next season, even if it's difficult, says Desiree. I think we might have got it wrong. The 13 million that Atletico want should be including wages and loan fee. United offering 4 million plus wages. Correct me if I'm wrong, says Sachin. So Man United are offering to cover the wages and give them 4 million euros, which totals about 10 million euros. Atletico Madrid want the wages covered and 13 million. So basically, United should cover the wages, which is 6, and give them another 8, 14 million euros. That's what we should do as a package. But I'm going to tell you why we can do it, Sakin, because this is the thing, right? United cannot sit there and go, we can't afford to get Joao Felix. Even though we desperately need him, we can't sit there and say we can't afford to do it. And you want to know why? 2 stories today. If United could get off their arse, there is a very simple way of doing this. Welcome to the Members Club, Walt Ten Hag. Basically, 2 updates. One from the Daily Mail's North East reporter saying that Newcastle are big admirers of Scott McTominay, but have received no encouragement from Manchester United, who say they won't sell him. And then Laurie Whitwell saying that Wolves are ready to back Lopetegui financially and like the look of Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Now, look, people will be sat here going, wow, I'd like to keep Wan-Bissaka and we probably shouldn't let McTominay go in January. Forget about it. What are you talking about? Well, forget about it. What are you talking about? I'm telling you now, if you want to be successful and you want to beat the rest, you've got to be the best. And to be the best, you've got to be ruthless and aggressive. If Newcastle... Well, I've just found 60 million quid. I've just found 60 million quid because I've done my fucking job. Newcastle wants Scott McTominay. He's never going to be good enough. He's never going to be good enough, is he? We've got Casemiro. With all due respect to McTominay, I wouldn't normally say sell him. But now that we've got Casemiro... Forget about it. He's never going to be a Manchester United Premier League challenging midfielder. He's never going to be an Arsenal Premier League challenging midfielder. He's never going to do it. I think he's 26 this year. He's never going to be. Casemiro, Rodri, Fabinho. He's never going to do it. It's never going to happen. So whatever you think about Scott McTominay, and I personally think he's a good squad player, he's never going to be the level we need him to be. So if Newcastle want to give us 30 million for him, take it. Take the 30 million and use it to get Joao Felix, because we're buying another midfielder in the summer anyway. Take the 30 million. And if we've got Dalot at right back, and we know what right back we want to buy, whether it's Gusto, Frimpong, Dumfries, we already know what Ten Hag wants. If Wolves are willing to give us 20 million quid for Wan-Bissaka, take the money. Take the money. But you know what United are doing? McTominay's not for sale and we're not selling Wan-Bissaka either. And you know why they're doing it? Because they don't know the head from the fucking elbow and they can't be arsed. They're incapable of doing 2 or 3 deals in 3.5 weeks. So I've got no sympathy with this Joao Felix thing, because we're arguing about a couple of million euros here, and we can't say we haven't got the money when there's people willing to do deals with us in January to generate that money. We could sell McTominay, sell Wan-Bissaka for about 50, 60 million, 30 for McTominay, 20 for Wan-Bissaka, 50 million in your skyrocket pocket, right? You get Joao Felix in on loan, 10, 15 million. You've got 35 million left to get a right back. Oh, I've just given us an attacker that can play multiple positions and bought a right back in and solved the problem for the summer that we don't need to solve in the summer. I'm a good director of football. Oh, that, you know why that won't happen? Because I've just done something that doesn't exist within Manchester United football recruitment department. I've been competent. They like to put an in front of it. And I'm not talking about an old style pub. I'm talking about incompetent. You know, these stories are coming from credible places. Laurie Whitwell, Athletic, talking about money that Wolves have got and they want Wan-Bissaka. And the Daily Mail, North East correspondent, saying that Newcastle have been long-term admirers of Scott McTominay, but Man United won't sell them. I don't dislike McTominay, I don't like Wan-Bissaka, but this 50 million quid there, 50 million quid that we could have within the next 2 weeks to go and get a right back and go and get a striker. Fucking do it. I haven't got the sympathy. I'm sorry, I just don't have the sympathy. I mean, who has got sympathy for the Glazers or John Murtaugh or Richard Arnold anyway? But if they did their bloody job, we can generate some money in January and take steps forward. Now, of course, I must admit, if Eric Ten Hag loves Scott McTominay and doesn't want to get rid of him, then that is a problem. But look, Ten Hag's not always going to be right. He won't always be right. He's a bloody genius from what I've seen of him, and I think he's a fantastic manager, but he won't always be right. But I'll tell you what, I would love to be in this position in 2 years where I'm saying Scott McTominay is one of the best midfielders in the world, but I just don't see it. Casemiro has set the bench here. Every midfielder we buy from now on should be as close to Casemiro as possible. Casemiro gets injured or suspended, you're going down to McTominay and Fred. That drop is like jumping off a 500-foot cliff, you know, and there's no bungee jump to bounce you back up. Well, there is when Casemiro's fit again. CT says, "Hi Mark, my name is Christian. I'm from South Africa. I've been watching the channel since 2020 and today's my 17th birthday. Please sing Agadoo as my birthday present." No, but happy birthday, CT. I'm not in an Agadoo mood, but happy birthday and thank you very much for your support. The sun will go out and the seas will go dry before this current United board will sell McTominay. They look at him, he's like the best thing out of the academy since Scholesy. Don't know what he has on them, says Joshua. Yeah, I mean, Joshua, you're probably right. I would concede that. You're probably right. There is a youth obsession with Scott McTominay. He's well liked. I mean, I know players at the club. I know people who work at the club. I could easily lie. I'm not going to do that. That's not what I do. He's well liked. Scott McTominay is well liked from top to bottom in that football club. And every manager we've had has liked him. He's a likeable guy who puts a lot of effort in. But I'd cash in. Football's ruthless. I would cash in. If there's 30 million quid there, I'd take it. And also, I think I said it on Twitter this afternoon, that's a really good deal for Man United because it gives you... I mean, you can't... You know, my issue with this is you can't sit there and say we've got no money and then somebody's willing to give you money for a bench player. That's, you know, if you're playing Football Manager or FIFA or whatever, or you're running a business and you need money to improve yourself and someone will offer you money for something you don't really use, you cash in. Doesn't matter how much you like McTominay, you cash in. United should cash in my opinion. And also, McTominay should be walking to Newcastle because he'll start every week. But they won't do it because Man United will go, no, we don't want to do it. He's liked, he's from the youth team. And McTominay will be like, I don't want to go, I love it here. But actually, from a business point of view for United and from McTominay's career point of view, I mean, Newcastle are going places and they want to buy you. I mean, you're not going to start for Man United, hardly ever. But at Newcastle, they want to buy you. I mean, it's an obvious deal for me, but I don't think we'll do it. But the Wan-Bissaka one, we should definitely do. We should definitely do. And we can't moan about not having any... I think this is good for the fans because it feels like for the last couple of weeks we've been going, well, we couldn't afford Gakpo, we can't afford Joao Felix, we've got no money. But what this exposes is that people actually do want to buy our players now. And I think this is a great point that nobody's picked up on. Do you think Tonali is realistic for the summer? Well, anybody's realistic for the summer, Logan. You know, if we get new owners, anybody's realistic. I mean, I don't think you can write anybody off. Shane says, do we not have 100 million safety net in the bank if we need what is 100 million if you get 5 billion, to Shane? Well, yeah, look, ultimately, I think it's time that we, as a fan base, didn't give any sympathy to not being able to afford Joao Felix or something like that. Because I think something's happening. Do you reckon we'll get top 4 if we get a striker, says Callum? I think we've got a very good chance. At least say Scooby-Doo, says CT. I played the game, Scooby-Doo, CT. Scooby-Doo. I'd sell Scooby-Doo. I would. If people are willing to pay money, I would do it. But what I also want to say is as well, we should stop listening to United haven't got any money to spend in January because something is happening that happened at Liverpool. Remember how Liverpool started selling people like Brewster and Ibe for about 20 million to Bournemouth and was it Sheffield United? And we couldn't sell a frog, you know, we couldn't sell anything at Man United. You know, we're terrible at selling. But Liverpool were able to pick up 20 million for players that had barely played. You know why that was? Because they played under Jurgen Klopp. And clubs look at that and go, we're buying players that have been coached by Jurgen Klopp. And that's what that was. We're already starting to see that with Manchester United. Nobody would go anywhere near our players. They don't want them. But now that Ten Hag's here, and if you are the manager of Everton or Bournemouth or Norwich or Fulham, and you've got a bit of money to spend, and there's some peripheral Man United players sat on their bench, suddenly they're very attractive because they're players that are, you know, groomed by Ten Hag in the sense that he has massively improved Rashford, Dalot, De Gea. You know, loads of players have massively improved under Ten Hag in a very short period of time. And that makes our squad players suddenly more attractive than they ever have been. You know, instead of playing for a shit team and a shit manager, they're suddenly, you know, being coached by a really good manager. We can't have the excuse that we haven't got any money in January when we could quite easily raise 30 million like that. There'll be people who want some of our players. Whether it's Wan-Bissaka, Scott McTominay or a couple of others, we can generate funds. So I've got no sympathy. You know, we should be looking to cash in and generate funds because we desperately need to bring in a forward. And that forward should not be some cheap loan deal because it's all we can afford. If United sell McTominay, who's the backup CDM, says Pranay. Well, I think you make a good point. But I don't think it's the point United are trying to make. I don't think they have any intention of selling Scott McTominay. I think you make a good point that who would be the backup CDM. But I don't think McTominay will get sold in the summer either. I think he's seen as part of the plan. Stephen says, if McTominay is not seeking a move to Newcastle, then he's playing safe, just like he does on the pitch, says Stephen. Fred has Barcelona written all over it, says Ronan. Well, again, another player that we can probably cash in on. When is the last time Scott even played, let alone started? Unless he's injured, it seems like Erik Ten Hag doesn't rate him. He's been ill, Brandon. He's been ill, to be fair. He was back on the bench tomorrow. I think he'll start against Everton. Last night he was on the bench. I think he'll start against Everton. Alistair says, but McTominay has to want to go to Newcastle. Remember Beckham and Barcelona when we almost got Ronaldinho. Love the content, by the way, mate. It says all-star. Yeah, 100%. You know, you can't sell a player that doesn't want to go. And I 100% don't think that Scott McTominay wants to go. I think McTominay and Maguire are very similar. I think they're both, well, I know they're both very popular players within Carrington, the team and the club. But I think they're both players that if they're interested in their careers, they should move on. You know, we're not talking about Maguire, but maybe in the summer we'll be talking about Maguire. I watched the game last night and I purposely gave him an average 6. I think most people gave him a 5.5, 6 being average. And a lot of people felt he was slightly below average. I actually got clipped up. I mean, I'm not worried about being clipped up. I get clipped up more time than a feature-length porn film. But, you know, Maguire, I got clipped up for giving him a 6. And some twat said this is why the fan base is so toxic, because of this idiot giving Maguire a 6. And then the replies were hilarious, because people were like, well, what would you give him? Are you saying he's being too positive? And then this guy replied with, no, he should have got a 7. And then people were just like, you're a fucking idiot. Goldbridge is actually being generous, giving him a 6. I don't see a future for Maguire. I think too many of the fan base has made their mind up. There's nothing he can do to turn it around. Even if he played well for 2 or 3 games, he'll make a mistake and people will go, Maguire needs to go. He needs to go. He's not a Man United player. He's not an Arsenal player. He's not a Man City player. He's not a Liverpool player. He's a West Ham player. He's an Everton player. That's what Maguire is. You can still play for England at that level, but he needs to go. Whether he'll recognise that or whether he'll dig his feet in and go, I'm Harry Maguire, I'm the captain, I'm staying, I know best, he might do that. But there's a few players that need to go because they will generate some funds. Somebody will give us £40 million for Harry Maguire. You can laugh, but I don't think Maguire's useless. I just think he's past his sell-by date at Man United. But he will. Somebody will. I nearly said someone will eat him. That's not what I mean. But somebody will take him. Hi Mark. Much points can we get from City and Arsenal? Says Jamie. I mean, I'm not going to talk about that at the moment. We've got Everton and Charlton. We've got an opportunity to go to the next round of the FA Cup and the semi-final of the Carabao Cup, which I think is very exciting. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't looking forward to Man City and Arsenal. I'd take 4 points tomorrow. I'd take 4 points to now out of those 6-point games, but it'll be difficult. I think they're the 2 best teams in the league, and we will be tested. But I'm looking forward to them. Lissandro can fill in for Casemiro with Shaw playing so well at centre back, says Duncan. Me and McTominay have a lot in common. We tried to go into the DM and performed poorly, says CT. And 35 million Scott could get you Tillemans for 15 million and 10 million Joao Felix, says Josh. Yeah, I mean, that's the point I'm trying to make. We can't sit here and say, we haven't got any money, when we could easily generate some money. Like, Wolves have got money and they want Wan-Bissaka. There's money that United can generate. But you know what? It's not about generating money. It's about being tight. Somebody in that football club thinks that Joao Felix is only worth £3 million as a loan deal. This is why we fail. United Av has just gifted a membership. Shout out to you, pal. Thank you very much. Maguire is genuinely a great centre-back, in my opinion, says Walter Ten Hag. I think he just isn't for United and should be playing in a back 5 where he has more protection. Yeah, I don't think he's a great centre-back, but I do agree with you that he would suit a back 5 better. Definitely. But look, all I'm trying to say is that Joao Felix is available and United can generate that money quite easily, in my opinion. But whether they want to or not is another thing. Just to stay with the striker theme, because we do need to buy an attack. I don't know whether anybody saw it. Sky Germany. You've always got to be worried about these ones, the Agalos I call them, or the Cavani's that just come up at the end of the transfer window and bang, they're wearing a Man United shirt. Choupo-Moting at Bayern Munich has been linked to United again. His contract's up in the summer. Apparently he's very settled in Munich, but Man United are sniffing around Choupo-Moting. Now, I spoke to somebody about Choupo-Moting about a month or 2 months ago, whenever it was we got linked to him for the first time. Very good source. And they said to me, what hair product do you use? Because I really like it. And I said, we're not here to talk about my hair product. We're here to talk about your very good information about why we're looking at Choupo-Moting. I will tell you my hair product afterwards. They said, fine, it's a deal. They basically said to me that the Choupo-Moting deal is Ten Hag, which is good. That's what you want. But it's not a scout. It's not United recommending it. The story isn't because United have scouted him off independently or whatever, because that does happen. You know, in the olden days, before Ten Hag, scouts would just go off and do their own thing and put reports in about players. You know, that's what used to happen. And they'd get recommended to Solskjaer or whatever. But this Choupo-Moting interest is actually from Ten Hag. He likes the player, which is not a surprise. Ten Hag has a very good understanding of the Bundesliga. Of course, he was a reserve team coach at Bayern Munich. And basically, Ten Hag, in the analysis of what United need and looking at something short-term and cheap, he has suggested Choupo-Moting a couple of months ago. It's now being mentioned again by Sky Germany. I don't know whether that means it's more likely or doable now. I mean, he's not useless. I think people just remember him at Stoke, but you know, he's not useless. And he offers, you know, a multitude of things. He's mobile. He's very physical. But he ain't Joao Felix and he ain't Cody Gakpo, and that's the problem for me. It's more of a risk than those two players, and it's slightly desperate. How much would we get if we loaned Elanga to Everton? If they won't let him go until they bring in a forward, surely would go a long way towards Felix, says Chris. Well, the stupid thing is, yes, you're right, Chris. I'm not saying you're stupid, but if we're paying Joao Felix's wages for 6 months, which is about 6 million euros, and we're giving 6 million euros to, or 10 million euros to Atletico Madrid, well, we could probably get 2 or 3 million out of Everton for Elanga. So yeah, it all helps. This is what I mean. I've got no sympathy for not getting Joao Felix. United can't sit there and say we can't afford Joao Felix, because they could generate money like that. Lee R says, if we could get Felix for 10 to 15 million loan, would we look for a second signing, or would that be it in January? Says Lee. I think there'll be one signing in January at the moment, unless we're going to move Wan-Bissaka on, which we could. I think there'll be one. We'll bring one signing in, probably a loan, and it'll be a forward. If Wan-Bissaka goes, it'll be 2. Wayne Finnegan says, evening Mark, hope you're well. According to Danny Murphy on TalkSport, United have no chance of beating City. He is a better weapon. You lost me at Danny Murphy, really. I don't mind TalkSport. I've got my own show on there, but Danny Murphy said, and then just think of laxatives, because that's all that's going to be spewing out of his mouth. Total shite. He talks a lot of shit when it comes to Manchester United because he's bitter. But I mean, look, Man City will be a difficult game. I don't go into the Man City and Arsenal games with any arrogance. They're the 2 best teams we've played this season. They're the 2 best teams in the Premier League. Man City always have a couple of results a season, like the Everton game. I think people think City have blown it because they drew to Everton, but they're always capable of doing that. I think I think you'll see a very different Manchester United against Manchester City at Old Trafford. For one, we're the home team with 75,000 people on our side, and for 2, we're a more settled 11 with Ten Hag more settled in the Prem. I fancy us to get. We might end up getting 2 points. We might end up drawing against Man City and Arsenal, but I'd love us to get a win against one of them. Jonathan says shirt sales for Felix would be very good as well. I don't really think about that, but it's interesting. There was also just somebody mentioned it earlier. I'm not going to dwell on this for very long, but was it Watford are interested in Axel Tuanzebe on a 6-month loan? I found this really interesting because I didn't even know he was fucking fit. I mean, apparently Watford want Tuanzebe on loan for the next 6 months. I didn't even know he was fit. He's not been in a matchday squad at all. So I was surprised by that Watford want Tuanzebe, because he's not. I don't think he's actually been fit since the summer. So interesting. But I'll tell you something about Tuanzebe. He's done. He's done. Phil Jones and him are gone. They're Mata and Matic in the summer. They're gone. They're out of contract and they're gone. We're not renewing it. You can't renew it. You can't renew it. If I hear that we're going to renew Phil Jones or Tuanzebe's contract, I'm legging it. I'm getting in a car and I'm driving fast to Carrington and I'm banging the door down and I'm saying, don't do it. No, you can't. You may as well give the money to charity. Like, you can't give Tuanzebe or Phil Jones a new contract in the summer. They're both out of contract. You can't give them a new contract. They're too injury prone. So if Tuanzebe's going to Watford on loan, he's going to Watford to try and rescue his career. It's not even a loan deal. It's a goodbye deal, because who goes on loan in January when their contract's up in June? You're just basically going somewhere to try and rescue your career. So Tuanzebe's got nothing left on his contract. Phil Jones has got nothing left on his contract. So I wouldn't even call it a loan deal. And it's a shame about Tuanzebe, because I do like him, but he just can't stay fit. It's been the story of his career. I think we've seen glimpses of what he can do. That night in Paris, he was very, very good. But it's not really a loan deal, is it? Manchild says, sell him. We sold Garner, who had actual potential. Yeah. Neville's comments about us having a better squad than Arsenal and not being surprised by a position is not helpful. It puts unnecessary pressure on Eric Ten Hag, says Mario. Mario, I've not heard what Gary Neville's had to say. So I don't even know if that's an accurate interpretation. But I find it funny that any ex-United player would say, I'm not surprised. I mean, look, I'll pick the pips out of this one straight away. How can any ex-United player not be surprised that Manchester United are up near the top of the league and we've got a better squad than Arsenal? What a crock of shit. You didn't even want Ten Hag. So how can you say that a manager that you didn't want hasn't surprised you when he's got the best win rate out of any manager in his first 25 games in the Premier League, and we're right up at the top after our worst ever Premier League season? I do sometimes wonder whether some of these opinions are loaded purposely to sort of convey to the public that Ten Hag isn't overachieving, he's doing what I expected. Well, I'm stunned by that. I'm stunned by that because as a massive supporter of Ten Hag, who was very vocal about getting Ten Hag in March, and remember, Gary and co wanted Poch. So let's just have a little bit of a contrast game here. In March, I was doing video after video saying we've got to get Ten Hag and I'll be fuming if we get Poch. You've got people like Gary who wanted Poch. Now we are here in January and I'm still saying I don't think we'll get top four because I don't think the squad's good enough. But you've got Gary saying, I'm not surprised United are in the top four. They've got a better squad than Arsenal. Is that not a little bit odd? I wanted Ten Hag. He wanted Poch. I'm saying, we're still probably in a false position compared to where we've come from and what we need. But Gary's not surprised we are here. So Gary's not surprised that we've gone from being the worst Premier League side Man United have ever had to being not too far off second place. And he's saying we've got a better squad than Arsenal. It's nonsense. Arteta's been building that Arsenal squad for 3 years. Ten Hag's had one summer. I am surprised where we are. And I think it's dangerous, like Mario says, to say you're not surprised where we are. You're an idiot. You cannot not be surprised. We've just had the worst ever Premier League season. We didn't even get 60 points. And people are saying, oh, I'm not surprised that we're up near Arsenal. We've got a better squad. Bullshit. We haven't got a better squad than Arsenal because it's not balanced. On paper, we might have players that look like they're better than Arsenal, but we haven't got a balanced squad. So I think it's I think you're right. I think it's puts unnecessary pressure onto Manchester United and doesn't give Ten Hag the credit he deserves, because I think we're massively overachieving from where we've come. And let's not forget, all right, he had £200 million in the summer, but we overspent on a lot of players, and a lot of those players had never played in the Premier League before. And let's not forget, how can Gary and co not be surprised? I bet they didn't even fucking know who Martinez was, let alone Anthony or Malacia. They would have known who Eriksen was and Casemiro, but the rest of them. Callum says, are you still 50-50 on Felix, Mark? Yeah, I mean, I don't feel any reason not to be 50-50 on Joao Felix at the moment. He could easily end up going to Arsenal. I'm not going to say that that's not possible, but we have got a chance. Yeah, we've got a chance. Definitely need Joao Felix or a pure top-class striker, at least a young prospect incoming, says Billy. Predictions for City and Arsenal, Mark, says Isha. I think people are running ahead of themselves. And I think the underlying thing is that people are running ahead of themselves because they're thinking about the title. I think this is so dangerous. I mean, do what you want, but I think people are thinking if we beat Man City and we beat Arsenal and Chelsea beat Man City tomorrow night, we're in a title race. And I'm like, I'd love to be in a title race. What Pratt's going to not want to be in a title race? But I think we're setting ourselves up for a fall because we are going to have a bad period. And if you start over-expecting, your expectations become unrealistic. And then when they're not hit, you start to have a negative feel towards Ten Hag and the team. He's massively overachieving. Why do you think he came out after the game yesterday and said, we're not even halfway through the season, we didn't actually play that well, there's still a lot of room for improvement? It's not just because he's got high standards, it's also because he's trying to temper the expectations that could run away. Worst ever Premier League Man United side, one summer transfer window, not been in a title race for 10 years, not won a trophy for 5. What the fuck are we doing talking about, oh, I expected us to be in this position? First manager to get the sack in 2023, Mark, says Rob. Lampard? Yeah, Lampard. We've got a lot to be excited about, but only if we get no owners, because we've got the right manager, in my opinion. definitely. Bit of an update on David De Gea as well. David De Gea has been speaking. 2 updates, actually. Not both about De Gea. David De Gea has been speaking about his future at Manchester United. Apparently, he is... I wrote this down, actually. Can't read my own writing. He's hopeful that he'll see out his career at Manchester United. And apparently the contract talks are progressing well. It will involve a bit of a pay reduction, which I think is logical. He's on 375k a week. But I'm very, very, very happy that David De Gea's contract is getting close to completion, because personally I'd give him a 3-year deal. I think that's about right at 32. And over that 3 years, I would be saying to him, please, we want to bring a goalkeeper in and work alongside you to take over from you, and have him on board for that. That, to me, is the ideal. Hopefully, David can be our number 1 for another 2 or 3 years. But if he's not going to be our number 1, we need him to help our next number 1. And I've been saying this for a while. The name I always mention is Lafont. He's a young French goalkeeper. I don't mean get him. We could get him. But he's a young goalkeeper with lots of potential in his early 20s. I think that would be perfect for United to bring into Manchester United and work under David De Gea. Dean Henderson's never going to do it. He could have done it, but he didn't want to do it. Dean Henderson wanted it now. He didn't want to learn. He just wanted it now. He was disrespectful. He didn't want to be patient. But there will be a goalkeeper out there that we can bring in that will be patient and learn and work under David De Gea, and then ultimately they'll have a good relationship and they'll take his place. That's what I want to see happening, because I'm not going to talk about last night's game, because he's been doing it for years, and he's certainly been doing it a lot under Ten Hag. But some of the saves he made last night, it's the simple reason I only gave Lindelof and Maguire an average 6, because Bournemouth should have scored a couple of goals. They should have scored a couple of goals. I'm not nonsense. They should have scored a couple of goals. David De Gea made 2, arguably 3, world-class saves. So, yeah, we kept a clean sheet, but Luke Shaw hit the nail on the head. David De Gea kept us a clean sheet last night. So, I don't want to solve many problems within that team. There's a few we have to. We've got to get a centre-back. We've got to get a right-back. We've got to get another midfielder or 2. We don't need to get another goalkeeper. We need to get an understudy, but we don't need to get a new goalkeeper. He is so consistent, so good, and I hope that can continue for at least a couple of years. So I can't wait for this contract to get signed. Catherine says, it makes my day, David De Gea's comments. So pleased he's adapting so well and still retaining the shop-stopping brilliance. Yes. I mean, some of his saves last night were fantastic. And also good news, I haven't seen any pictures myself, but a few people have mentioned it to me, that Anthony was back in training today. Now, I don't know how that works, because United didn't train today because they played last night, but apparently Anthony was back in training today. So that's good news, because you do worry sometimes when a player out of the blue isn't even in the matchday squad, let alone the bench. So thankfully, it does look like Anthony's knock was a little knock, and he is back now, and hopefully he'll be involved against Everton or Charlton. And hopefully the same will happen with Martial, who obviously went straight down the tunnel when he was substituted last night. Sancho, how long's a piece of string? I don't know. He is back in Manchester. He is back at Carrington. Apparently he is still training individually, but he's not back training with the first team yet. But you know what? I wouldn't be surprised tomorrow. We've got a Ten Hag... I mean, God, it seems like so long. I cannot wait. Tomorrow afternoon at 4:30, or just after 4:30, we'll be live, because Ten Hag's doing his first sit-down press conference since before Christmas. Every one of his press conferences over Christmas have been embargoed, recorded after the match, but this is an actual press conference, so we should get some good questions. And I wouldn't be surprised if Ten Hag tomorrow is telling the world that Jadon Sancho is back training with the first team. So that's what we want. We want to see... I think once Sancho's back pictured training with the first team, you can probably say a week after that he'll be involved. So if he was training with the first team tomorrow, there's a chance he might be involved for the Charlton game. If he's not back training with the first team until next Monday, I don't think we'll see him for the Charlton or Man City game. But yeah, I'd say about a week after he trains, he'll be in a match day squad. So we're not far away. A few people asking about Donny update. The update on Donny van der Beek is very easy. Obviously, it's only it's probably 24 hours to the minute since he did that injury. What normally happens with an injury like that is there's no point in scanning until the swelling goes down, which is why Ten Hag said 24 hours. I would imagine we will get an update in the press conference tomorrow as well, because I think the scans will be done either later today, already done, or tomorrow morning. It's hard to predict what's a good scenario with that, because I think we're all pretty concerned that that's not just going to be a knock. That's not just going to be heavy bruising, because he would have been able to play on, and then the next day he would have been in a lot of pain. He couldn't play on. He's done something. The mind boggles about what he could have done there and how long it could be out. I didn't watch the injury. I didn't watch the tackle again, because I think when you know it's nasty, it just turns my stomach. But I did see the picture that was floating around on social media, and it's just ridiculously unlucky. I remember, a lot of you probably be too young to remember this, but there was a career-ending injury at Old Trafford many years ago when Manchester United, welcome to the Members Club, Morgan, when Manchester United played Coventry at Old Trafford. So that tells you how long ago it was. David Boost was a Coventry centre-back, I think, and I might be wrong on the two players, but I think it was McClare and Irwin. They went to tackle the ball, and one went from one side and one went from the other onto his leg, and basically snapped his leg. Schmeichel was crying and nearly threw up. These freak things happen, and you are really unlucky if it happens to you. And I think with Donny last night, it was one of those. The way that the Bournemouth defender slides into him, and the way that Donny's leg is, he sort of just catches both parts of his leg, causing it to do what it did. And it's worrying. You know, I haven't really thought about it loads today, but every time I've thought about it, I've thought, you know, what is the best case scenario with that? A couple of months out? I don't see him. I just don't see him playing again before Easter, and we might not see him again until, you know, next season. In which case, he's not going to be leaving Man United anyway, is he? De Gea has improved his game on distribution, playing on from the back, and other aspects related to being a modern goalkeeper. However, in being old school, a shot stopper is what goalkeepers should be, and David De Gea is brilliant, says Mojo. Yes. So look, I'm sure we'll get an update on Donny, but and we will get an update quite quickly, because of course, if it's really bad, you've got to have an operation. So it's not the sort. I mean, if Ten Hag doesn't give an update, that's probably no news is good news, because really, you do the scan, there's damage, we need to operate, you know roughly how long it's going to take for him to get back. So I think we'll find out very, very quickly on Donny. Yeah. I feel bad for Donny. Hope it's not that bad. Serious as demon time. Yeah, I hope so. Do you think we'll sell Dean Henderson, says I know nothing? I can't see... logically, if David De Gea signs a new contract, I can't see Dean Henderson staying. Unless David De Gea says, I'm happy to stay and be, you know, understudy to Dean Henderson, which why would you do that? You know, why would you do that? It's like Marcus Rashford saying, I'm happy to sign and be an understudy to Elanga. You know, David De Gea is way better than Dean Henderson. So I think Dean Henderson will leave. I think he's burnt a lot of bridges at Old Trafford, and I think they're ready to cash in on him. And I think that, you know, Dean Henderson's season at Forest has been up and down, but he's certainly maintained a reputation that there will be a Premier League club that wants to buy him. So, you know, I think you know, that's a bit of money coming in, isn't it? Hopefully. Hi Mark, great show. Players are assets on paper valued at the transfer fee. Glazers won't sell or lose assets while looking for buyers for the club. There we go, Matt. Thank you very much. And I think that tackle might have been on purpose. He had done a couple of reckless tackles himself earlier, says Shahir. Well, we beat Bournemouth, but I thought one or two of their tackles were out of order for the modern game. Now I know it was wet, and that can, you know, make people slide a little bit, but I actually thought some of their tackles were nasty. I thought there was a nasty tackle on Garnacho in the second half, but you know, I've played the game, and sometimes you do get unlucky as well. But I'm with Andrew. It looked accidental to me, and yeah, it could have happened to anyone really. Haller's back training at Dortmund. That's good news, Walter. And wishing Donny all the best, says Sam. And given the fact that the Shaw can play at centre-back with either Varane or Lindelof, we can replicate what Ten Hag did at Ajax with Martinez as a backup CDM, says Keenan. I wouldn't mind seeing that happen, you know. I think that it was always logical that Luke Shaw could play as a left-sided centre-back because he's so cultured and intelligent. But I would love to see that. We've seen a lot of it at United over the years. You know, Valencia went from being a winger to a right back. Ashley Young went from being a winger to a full back. And I'm not necessarily convinced that they were very good full backs, but I like adaptability if it's the right player. And, you know, if Luke Shaw can come in at left centre back and Martinez can come in at CDM, then it you know, it helps us, especially in this next few months. I wouldn't want to see it happening next year. I mean, next year I want to buy a centre-back and I want to buy a midfielder. You know, Luke Shaw's a very, very good left-back. Ronaldo wage funds Felix. McTominay could fund a cheap Rabiot. Loft over that. And Aaron Wan-Bissaka funds Frimpong, says Oliver Foster. Yeah, and look, you know, there is a bit of an interesting story I just wanted to bring in as well. Some of you might not have read it. There was a bit of a rumour going round, and it's now been confirmed that what's his name? George Mendes had split up with Cristiano Ronaldo. Now, they're not in a loving relationship. They're in an agent and player relationship. But just a bit of breaking news in the last half an hour as well. Jan Sommer, a goalkeeper Man United were looking at, has agreed to join Bayern Munich. There we go. Don't know whether he's joining them in January or not, but yeah, apparently that's happened as well. But yeah, look, George Mendes and Cristiano Ronaldo have apparently parted ways. Now, they've been together for probably 2 decades, a long, long time. Apparently, Mendes broke from Ronaldo because of the Piers Morgan interview that he didn't recommend, and he didn't like Ronaldo's comments about certain things at Manchester United. I don't know whether that's accurate or not, but that's probably a good thing for United because George Mendes, look, super agents are not moral. They're agents. If I was an agent right now, I would be wanting to build good relationships with Manchester United and Newcastle and Chelsea, and obviously the Real Madrids, because I know they've got money and they're looking to buy. And if I've got players, you're always in a better position if Chelsea, Man United, Newcastle want your player than just one of them. George Mendes has had a very good relationship with Ronaldo and has made a lot of money out of Ronaldo, but Ronaldo is now playing in Saudi Arabia and probably won't have another big move in him. There is no point in George Mendes having a bad relationship with Manchester United because Manchester United are hopefully about to come into a lot of money and he will want to be involved. And George Mendes doesn't just have players anymore. He acts as a super agent for a lot of big deals. So this could be a good thing for United because if George Mendes has parted ways with Ronaldo, I'm pretty sure Joao Felix is one of his clients anyway. So it could open doors to a new relationship. And he's also, I think he's also David De Gea's agent as well. So look, I mean, don't really want to talk about Ronaldo, but I think some people think that getting Joao Felix could be difficult because of George Mendes, but obviously I don't think that would be the case. Are there decent free transfer candidates available? We should get as many as possible like Barca last year, says Omka. Buy a centre-back or a midfielder or give a promising youngster a chance, says Lee Taylor. I think youngsters will be given... I actually think we need 2 midfielders, so I think buy a midfielder and then promote a couple of youngsters as well. Hi Mark, hope you're okay. What happened to the old setup? Have you moved, says Josh. Josh, you do realise that the old setup was a green screen. I just haven't set it up yet. And Seeing Donny's injury made me feel numb, like in 2008 when I saw Rodrigo Pozzebon get a nasty tackle versus Middlesbrough. I remember him, Stephen. I thought he was going to be a really good player. What was the other lad we had from Spain as well? I thought he was going to be really good. It wasn't Pozzebon. Probably 5 years ago. Don't know what happened to him. Spanish lads. What was his name? There's a question for you, and it's not even sponsored by Boohoo Man. Don't even know where he is now. Oh, what was his name? No, it's not. Puigmal, that's it. Joe's got it. I know Puigmal. Where is he now? Let's have a look. I thought he was going to be good. Came over with a really good reputation. He's currently 21. He went from Espanyol to Manchester United. And he's now at Almeria. A free agent, signed a 5-year contract with Segunda Division side Almeria. And he's played 33 games, scoring 5 goals. So, there we go. Valencia was class marks a spectre. He was a better winger than he was a fullback. He was all right at fullback, but he was a better winger in my opinion. Yeah. There we go. Anyway, look, thanks everyone for watching. Really enjoyed the show tonight. I love the 8 o'clock shows, as you know. Tomorrow night is not Man United playing. I know it's coming thick and fast. It's mad, isn't it? We play Tuesday night, Friday night, Tuesday night. So we've got Everton on Friday night. We've got Ten Hag. I'll be back at 10 a.m. for the morning show tomorrow. But we've got Ten Hag's press conference at 4:30 as well. I wondered if it's a green screen. I just wondered why you haven't used it in a while, says Josh. Because I'm bloody lazy. I haven't put it back up yet. But it'll be behind me again. It's still over there. I've just got to drill it into this wooden shelves I've had put in. I mean, I quite like this background. It's nice. It's nice to have something real. It's nice to be able to, get up and sort of wander into the background and do this, and pick up something physical like a ball and, have it. It's good stuff. But I do miss my green screen as well. I need to mix it up a bit, basically. That's what I need to do. But thanks everyone for watching. Big shout out to all the moderators as per usual. Big shout out to everyone who's watched live. Make sure you smash the like on the subscribe. And yeah, lots going on with Man United at the moment. There was actually quite a lot of stuff I wanted to talk about that I've run out of time about. So we can just discuss it on the morning show, I suppose. Specifically around the title and also some news that's coming out around the sale. But I will cover that at 10 a.m. tomorrow morning because it deserves more than 5 minutes at the end of an 8 o'clock show. So, bit of development around the sale of Man United, and I will reveal that on the 10 o'clock show tomorrow. Thank you everyone for watching. Take care, subscribe, stay safe, and thank you for spending this evening with me. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. You legends, you TUS legends. There you go. Speak to you in a bit.